My name's Buchanan, and we're here right in the very heart of the Inishowen peninsula in North Donegal. This is my mother's home place, this farm here, and it would have been a sheep farm when I was a boy, and we would have been up round the hills rounding up sheep. Kind of marginal enough land, good land in the valley bottom, going up to marginal land in the hillsides. It was difficult to manage this when we were living 30 minutes away, so and I was actually studying forestry at the time, and it seemed the best option was to turn it into a woodland. There was always a good block of real interesting ancient oak wood down below that kind of was, I would have been playing in it and walking through it as a child, and I think that inspired me. But basically planted different trees to suit different long-term goals and the different types of soil here. So there's spruce here planted in the uplands, and that's going to produce a pension for me in my lifetime, and I've also had the benefit of the premiums too. There's oak that's going to benefit future generations that I work on to make sure that it will be a viable long-term product for future generations. And there's a good mix of stuff planted all through, and with different management systems for each part of the land, you know. There's an area of land here that's producing what's going to be a tax-free income, while I can work elsewhere, you know, without having to focus on sheep production in an area that was remote from the home farm. Yeah, I mean, like, sheep wouldn't produce the return that the timber's going to produce, and the premiums as well, all of which is tax-free, so there was no comparison in that regard. I've got 4 kids growing up here, and you can just open the back door and let them go off and play in the woods, and I suppose in turn they'll get an appreciation for woodland that I got from the bit of stuff that wasn't cleared down below, and hopefully that they'll then take on the management and the long-term goals and keep it as a family asset. You know, like, you sell it once, it's gone, and you're taxed on what you make from it. If you keep it as a woodland and it keeps producing timber for the family down through the line, and like, that's my dream for the place, that it'll stay in the family and be an asset. Like, we're in an area of spruce here, and that's growing very well, and that'll be harvested probably in about 10 years' time, so I'll see the benefit of that. Or if it stands well to thinning, I'll keep it going. Now, at that stage, I'll make a decision whether I'm going back with spruce or whether I'm going to convert to native, you know, where there's grants to go native there. It depends on what I'm doing with the rest of the property. You know, if I'm going down the recreation route more, then it'll be more suited to native, etc., etc. So, look, the plans change every day, you know. There's about 20 acre of oak there or thereabouts. So I've been in there thinning them. There's a grant there to do the first thinning, so that's completed and that's been paid. I am taking out firewood now and cutting it up and using it here in the house, and we'll probably sell a bit as well. It is one thing to talk about. It is quite intensive to manage like native trees like oak and broadleaves, etc. You have to shape them, you have to prune them, otherwise you end up with a crop of firewood rather than a crop of sawlog down the line, and that's something that's not always accounted for. And when you see things happening like chimneys being taken away in houses, you're taking away a market there for managing native woodland, and like, you're losing the big picture. Like, firewood's a very sustainable resource from a carbon point of view. You grow a tree in a few years. It's not like peat where it takes millennia to grow, you know. And I think if we're taking away a market for thinning broadleaves, we're ultimately going to lose out on having native woodlands as a future sawlog crop for building homes, etc. It's hard to know what to say there, because we have been let down, you know, by leadership within the country. The government have slipped up badly, and the administration, the civil service, in terms of the black hole that we've gotten into and how slowly it's taken to climb out of that black hole. We're definitely not there yet. We need to be planting more. Look, they better get their act together to inspire confidence, because there's a place in most farms for a bit of woodland, whether it be just for a firewood resource, whether it be overwinter shelter for animals, or for them to for sheep to maybe to give birth outdoors without having to shed them. There's so many benefits, but as I say, like the confidence in the sector's at rock bottom. My advice would be to talk to other people that have woodlands, but maybe talk to people that have woodlands that are actively managing them and getting something out of them, rather than people that have planted and forgot about it. And then you can also get in touch with a local forester, and he'll help guide you through the process.